Alright, the fifth molecular type is the non-hydrocarbon, that is a compound containing atoms of nitrogen, sulfur, or oxygen in the molecule, and commonly it forms as aliphatic in small amount in crude oil. So you can see here sulfur, nitrogen, oxygen, and the products. Alright. For the petroleum product, well, distillation is the principal method for separating crude oil into useful products. So this is usually called as refinery tower. You can find this in Corte and Negros Milan. That is equivalent to a series of individual distillation fluxes in which the distillate from the first flux, okay, is condensed in the second flux and redistillate to produce a distillate for the third flux. So instead of flux, the tower has condensation plate, okay, in which each of the overlying chamber in the tower condenses successively lighter and small molecules until only light gasoline escapes from the top. So at the bottom of the tower are those molecules that are so large and heavy which they cannot penetrate as gases through the first plate, so they end up in the residue. Right, these are the product of the petroleum. You can read through it. In general, the product are light gasoline, okay, heavy gasoline, kerosene, diesel, fuel, gas oil, lubricant, heavy gas oil, and residue. You can see and you can read here the specific uses for each of this product. Like for example, gasoline, like gasoline, okay, it contains both hydrocarbon gas and non-hydrocarbon gas. So alright, for the light gasoline, you can see here dry gas normally refers to the methane. Wet gas normally refers to carbon 2 to carbon 7. Okay, like for example, ethane, propane, butane, which are more into gasoline and contain more than 50% of the product. Alright, and then we have the cleanest fossil fuel, LPG, LNG. So LPG here stands for liquefied petroleum gas, like for example propane and butane, while LNG here refers to liquefied natural gas such as methane. So normally LPG and LNG, the gas normally gas transported to the consumer by pipeline and carrier as the liquid tanker. So we have also the olefin that not present in the natural gas but is present by cracking the gas oil and heavier hydrocarbon to gasoline. Alright, next we have the heavy gasoline with the carbon atom 5 to carbon atom 10. So normally it contains only 10 to 40% of in crude oil, and to increase the amount, normally it's combinations of cracking and polymerization with once it occur, it can produce in 70% of crude oil. And then for the kerosene, you can see here the hydrocarbon product contain or normally composed of 10 to 40% of aromatic and naphthalene, and it useful for jet fuel and diesel fuel, and it also contain the non-hydrocarbon like naphthenic acid and phenol. And next we have diesel fuel, okay, from C14 to C18. So it can use in both for jet fuel and diesel fuel. And then we have lubricant or heavy gas oil from C26 to C50. So normally it contains normal paraffin waxes from C22 to C40, and then it also contains aspartate, the NSO compound. And lastly, at the bottom part of the tank, normally we found residue with the C carbon more than 40. So it is the most complex product. Normally it contains the heavy oil or high molecular weight waxes, resin and aspartame. So it also normally used for furnace oil and road construction. So right, for the aspartame, remember I did mention previously, it's a colloidal particles dispersed in an oily medium. So it normally found in dark brown to black. It's a amorphous solid, and the hydrogen to carbon ratio normally 1 to 1.3. Okay, it has the high viscosity because it's from asphalt or a solid material. While resin here, it's a thick one, viscous substance to solid amorphous. Normally we found is as a light to dark color, and the hydrogen to carbon ratio to 1.3, from 1.3 to 1.6. Alright. Okay, and lastly we have the condensate product. So it is, like I mentioned earlier, it is a liquid at surface while gaseous state at the reservoir. So we have to collect this in the separator because of its properties. So normally if we found condensate in gas in reservoir, it usually under very high pressure, and it's able to dissolve as a large amount of liquid hydrocarbon when it comes to the surface. So the characteristic of condensate, it has API gravity more than 55 degree. It composed of saturated hydrocarbon, like for example butane, pentane, hexanes, and it normally found in also in light gasoline, and it also can be found nearly in all oil producing area. So the gas oil ratio normally it's more than 5,000. Okay, for condensate, the GOR is more than 5,000 cubic feet of gas per barrel of oil. Alright, so in conclusion, high API gravity of crude oil has high gasoline and low residue content, whereas low API gravity of oils are low in gasoline and high in residue. Because high gravity means low viscosity, thus small molecules are easy to be condensed and form like hydrocarbon. That's why small molecule type of hydrocarbon such as paraffin and naphthalene are mostly found in the crude oil because they are easier to migrate and accumulate in the reservoir, and they are the dominant compound in gasoline. So aromatic are found in average of 70% in the crude oil, and also found in all product of petroleum, because carbon atoms started from C6 and occupied in all the product. Meanwhile, the NSO compound or aspartic occur in the small amount throughout petroleum, with the largest quantity in the lubricating oil and residue. Because aspartic, they are large, or they having a large and complex compound, thus it cannot condense to smaller molecule to form gases. Okay, I think we finished for this part.